AskReddit. What has been ruined because too many people are doing it? Antibiotics. Mass tourism. If a place gets too popular and too many tourists go there, then it ends up destroyed. Flower fields trampled, beaches full of garbage, overfishing, etc. A shortcut through a neighborhood to avoid 3 lights and a railroad crossing. It became so popular that the town installed a series of large speed bumps to discourage drivers from using it. Delivering for Uber Eats. Used to make $150 a night on the weekends. Now I'm lucky to hit $60 before I get tired of waiting around for pings and go home. Flying. Some people have zero idea how to behave in proximity of others. Back when Etsy was in its heyday, it was really awesome finding unique artists doing unique things all over the world. I loved that I could find things for any niche interest I could dream of, would eat up their featured artist videos for inspiration, and felt like I had a real chance at selling the crafts I've loved making for years. Nowadays a lot of it is Chinese resellers and people selling things they made that you can tell were just like 2 things they bought and glued together. It was kind of fun at first back when Regretsy was a thing, FJLs unite, but now I feel like I have to be super meticulous when I'm shopping on there to make sure what I'm looking at is indeed either a vintage or handmade item, and that it's not something from Alibaba or Wish with a 500% markup. Not to mention trying to stand out among all that crap if you're trying to sell things. Maya Beach. It was in that 2000 Leo DiCaprio movie where it was depicted as a paradise. Now way too many tourists visit there beyond the beach's capacity, and it's destroyed almost all of the coral reef and marine life. The government of Thailand had to close the beach down indefinitely last year to let the ecosystem recover. Hit songs always do it for me. The radio doesn't help either. Takes the replay value down, even if the song is 10/10. There was a beautiful pristine waterfall near where I used to camp during the summer. We could go and enjoy hours playing in it in absolute isolation, and we knew enough to be careful not to stress the landscape too much. Now, you can't go there without the hordes of ugly people with their screaming children and barking dogs that monopolize the water, eroding the banks, and destroying the surrounding flora. They leave behind their dog shit and litter, including baby diapers and beer cans that are often seen bobbing around in what was once a crystal clear pool. I hate those people. Theme parks. Even if you pay a buttload for the express passes, you still have to get through the swarms of people to get to the rides. Then all the food vendors are packed. I feel like there could actually be more of them spread out. There is one water park near me to large metropolitan cities within a little over an hour drive. That place is wall to wall people every day of the summer. Tourism to ultra popular places, especially smaller cities. Dubrovnik immediately comes to mind. The first time I went was pre-Game of Thrones, and I thought it was pretty touristy, but sort of in a typical popular European destination way. I went again a few years later, after Goatee became really popular, with my then boyfriend, because we were in the area and he hadn't been, and holy shit. It is the only place I've ever thought was absolutely ruined by the huge amount of tourists. And that was in autumn. I'd hate to see what it's like in the summer. Instagram. Specific types of accounts. As much as I love using it for friends, everything is so overdone to the extreme. Photographers edit their photos to basically look like a place that doesn't actually exist, but are dishonest about it. Models all have the same poses, locations, aesthetic themes. All those people that post as a lifestyle blog, but it's just a bunch of pictures of them on vacation, or advertising some sketchy looking online shop. People that have thousands of followers, and every single one of their posts is a selfie. Sorry if any of these things intrigue you. In my opinion, I just feel like they are so overdone and hard to avoid. Every Instagram photographer page. Girl holding a ball of string lights. Girl in bathtub full of milk. Teal and orange color palettes. Body paint. Portraits with tons of neon, usually at an arcade. Girl looking straight at camera through oversized glass. Instagram has gotten way too predictable. Reddit has gone considerably downhill recently. 8 years ago, reposts and stolen content were both regarded with scorn. Typos and misspellings were met with friendly and helpful corrections, and folks actually edited their mistakes. People put thought and effort into the content that they offered, treating the site as both a stage and forum for interesting conversations. Sure, there were still problems, but you could feel confident in the fact that low quality submissions would quickly be eclipsed by the posts and comments that were entertaining, informative, or insightful. Nowadays, well, just look at this thread. At the time of this writing, the vast majority of the top level comments are incomplete sentences that wouldn't make any sense without the question that prompted them. The vast majority of those are stolen jokes, tired memes, or repetitions of the same sentiments, and every last one of them contains at least one writing error. Very few people actually want to contribute, they just want to be seen, and the apparent hope is that they'll garner some imaginary points along the way. Those points used to be a surrogate for applause or appreciation. Now they are just something people covet. Anyway, look, I know that I probably sound like a crotchety old man who is misremembering the good old days. Like I said, Reddit definitely wasn't a perfect place back when I first started hanging around here, but there was a lot more in the way of high quality content, and there was a lot more care taken in offering that content. The sudden influx of kids who grew up with social media and who insist that memes, a word which they misuse, are the only form of humor that exists, has been drastically changing the site's atmosphere over the past 2 or 3 years, though. Posts in the best of communities are riddled with errors and misconceptions. Rampaging leprechauns steal everyone's ketchup, and nobody pays enough attention to notice the non sequitur nature of that last point. Laziness and apathy have become the most prevalent attitudes, and it shows. Sadly, there isn't any better alternative. Reddit is still the best site on the internet, but that's as much a condemnation as it is praise. Flipping houses. I've never been interested in doing it myself, but when just a few people who actually knew how to improve a fixer-upper and resell it, after increasing its value were doing it, it was a legitimate service. Now it's just artificially inflating housing prices when investors buy up every open property in an area, put in trendy, garbage fixtures and cheap paint, and expect unreasonable prices, so normal people can't afford homes. It's ruining the housing market in a lot of places. Taking pictures or recording a concert. Last weekend was my first ever concert, and I was amazed at how many people decided to record the whole concert and watch it through their phone screens. I was there hoping people put down their phones and let me watch the artist, but instead I needed to move my head avoiding all those phones. And I'm sure they'll not watch those recordings. Historical sites. Several places like Venice, Colosseum, Santorini, pyramids of Giza. In addition to natural things like coral reefs at Raja Ampat or even just the waters around Antarctica all being overrun, overpopulated and polluted by the increasing number of people wanting to see the world and nail the perfect Insta posts. Shopping at thrift stores. I grew up poor, so pretty much all of my clothes came from the thrift store. I still liked shopping there. When I was in high school we were a bit better off. There was one on the walk from the train to my house that I went to pretty much every other day after school. The prices never changed much, and I got some of my favorite sweaters from there, like this one that I call Frenchman and this awesome Halloween sweater. Around my senior year of high school I started noticing people coming in with lists of things to buy. These guys would come to thrift stores to buy items they wanted for their boutique shops, where they would sell them as vintage for a huge markup. After that started becoming huge, along with the Macklemore song, the prices started getting higher and higher. These people ruined thrift stores by making them start jacking up their prices, and I hate that it happened because I loved shopping there. Going to college. I'm not calling for a restriction of higher education, but we need to shotgun blast into oblivion this idea that every fucking teenager needs to have college as their next step. The value of a bachelor's has plummeted, and competition in the job market is getting worse because nowhere near enough jobs exist for the number of people coming out of college every year. Our beautiful national parks. I'm so glad I did my adventure traveling to 26 of our great parks in 2003 before millions of idiots decided to flock to these places just to take a selfie. I felt like I had Yosemite all to myself some days. Zion and Arches were empty. It was beautiful.